Om Shanti. Good evening.
We have a very special speaker.
Om Shanti, good evening.
To explore the reasons why relationships can break down, but more importantly, look towards.
So that was a beautiful meditation commentary, right? Experiencing the soul, experiencing the real self. And in the last two sessions of the Raja Yoga Foundation course, we have learned that I am an invisible, powerful energy, the driver and the driving force of this physical body. And so it's not just knowing that I am an entity that is separate from this body, but I have to start living that entity now. That's a real awakening, because we live so much in this external layer of how we look out externally, and that's called body consciousness. We think what we are external, we think what position we have external, we think what nationality we have externally, what color we have, what position, how much money we have, how many possessions we have. This is the intoxication. This is the awareness we always have throughout the day, which is called the consciousness. From soul, it has shifted to body, and that's where all the problems are. When I have shifted my real identity, my real awareness from being this invisible being, which is inside, to this physical being, which is outside. And so from now, it will be a very good practice if every now and then, if you start to actually bring this two aspects of I and mine during the day a few times, if you can actually check, okay, this is I, this is I, the soul, I am separate, and this is mine, the body, right? I, the soul, and mine are these eyes. I, the soul, mine is this body. I, the soul, mine is this position. So start actually separating yourself. And it's a very powerful experience when you start doing this. I am the driver, and this is the car. I, mine, I, mine, because we have been living in the awareness and identity of mine, which is completely false, because that which is mine is there today, may not be there tomorrow. So this mine is something, it's perishable. Whatever I have, mine is something that I've acquired. So acquired thing is perishable. So if my awareness is based on something that is perishable, that means my life is, sitting on a false foundation, which can collapse anytime. So spirituality brings us to this pure awareness of I and mine. So have this separation every time. Experience this. I am a soul. I am that being, and this is mine. I am not mine. Because the moment you start to separate, you will start to experience you are a powerful entity. You are the master who have the power to take care of the acquired things as a trustee. And especially when it comes to mind, you know how to parent your mind when you separate yourself. So, who is the parent of the mind? The soul. I, the soul, is the parent of this mind. And so, just like a mother nurtures the mind, in the same way, I, the soul, nurture this mind. Many people in the world, they talk about turn inwards, go within. They say inner peace. They use this word inwards, inner a lot, but where inwards and where inner, nobody knows. Somewhere or the other, still the world connects to this physical system, this physical identity. But spirituality teaches us, it takes us beyond these layers of physicality to that inner being. When I say inwards, where is that my focus of inwards is? Where is that I am connecting to? That is the true being, the reality that I am, who is invisible to these eyes. And there are some stories like they call near death experiences, where certain people have experienced death, but they came back, but in that process, they have actually experienced being separated from this body. And that's when this huge realization of freeing myself. I am not this body. I am a separate entity from this body. It's like, the body is seeing, the soul is seeing the body lying there. Mhm. And also, they had these experiences, many of these near death experiences, shared that, this being a separate entity from the body and experiencing a world of light, a world that is completely beyond from this world, a world that was, that is peaceful. And so there are some stories of, people in the world who have shared, these near death experiences. So what I'm saying is, it's like, come back to that real reality of your own self. Live that reality, not just knowing. Knowing is also one way, opening your eye. Oh, you say I know now. That means you have a realization. So bring to that point of realization, not from the head space. Experience this from the heart space, that you are this soul within, that invisible being. And once you start to look at yourself as this invisible being filled with peace, invisible being filled with power, invisible being filled with truth. If you remember the meditation commentary we had, the meditation commentary was guiding experience the soul being in the center. Feel I am a soul and I'm giving light and light force to this body. So now imagine the soul like a torchlight, right? Like a searchlight or torchlight. And so when torchlight, if the battery is full, the torchlight is giving like full light, right? So think about the body of the torch, the way it looks, but the inside the light, that little bulb is also matter, but that energy of light that's emanating from that torch. But when the battery gets lower and lower, the light also gets lower. In the same way, when I have the consciousness, I am a soul, then it's like I'm charging this battery here. And when I'm charging that battery, it's like I'm giving light and I'm the life force in this body. But when I start to forget that I'm a soul and I become too body conscious, then this light of the soul becomes dim. And so I am in this body, but very dim. So when I say the soul becoming dim, meaning the soul's immunity, the charge of the soul or the battery of the soul is reducing. That means the immune power of the soul is reducing, which means that the soul can get reactive to everything that's going on. So that's why if I feed body consciousness, that means I'm feeding my anger. If I'm feeding my body consciousness, that means I'm feeding my greed. I want more. I am feeding a wrong consciousness. I'm feeding my attachments. Instead of seeing others as a soul, I'm so caught up in the mind consciousness. of getting more or being attached. Feeding my body consciousness means feeding my fear of losing something. Feeding my body consciousness means feeding my desires. I want, I want, I want. There's never contentment in life. Feeding my body consciousness means feeding the most important vice, that is ego. Like ego, ego is always shown with two horns, right? Two horns. And so that ego keeps building inside so powerfully. Then when this layer of ego, fear, all of this catches the soul isn't able to see the truth. The soul isn't able to experience that potential of the soul, which is peace, happiness, love, power, all of this, which we have discussed in our last class. So understand this. If I'm feeding soul consciousness now, what is happening? I'm feeding my inner peace. Again and again, I'm experiencing peace. I'm feeding my soul consciousness, means I'm experiencing the truth within. I'm feeding my soul consciousness, meaning I'm feeding my inner love, the love that exists, which is so pure, which I experience and which I share with others. When I'm feeding my soul consciousness, that means I'm feeding my happiness, the real happiness. Today we run behind for something that makes me happy externally, but that brings somewhere or the other disappointments, because the things that we acquire can have minimal capacity to give happiness, or a temporary capacity to give happiness. And so what we do is we run for these temporary attainments, which gives us little happiness, and then the soul again falls back into a desire to fulfill that. So feeding soul consciousness means, most importantly, of course, happiness, as I shared, most importantly is feeding my self mastery, being a master of the self. It's a very powerful thing, because now my mind pulls me in one way, my intellect is confusing me in the other direction, and my impressions. In the last class we did talk about mind, intellect, and sanskars, right? My impressions. And so all of these three faculties are in the soul, and these three faculties have become really powerful. And so the mind takes the soul in all kinds of different directions. It's like you have to ride the horse, and the horse is taking you in whatever direction the horse wants. So, like that, if I'm not soul conscious, then it's like these senses, the mind will take me wherever it wants. No control over mind, no control over intellect. That means I'm confused. No control over my habits. That means I become a subservient to my habits. My habits overtake me. And then, you know, so it's like not only that, even my physical senses I become subservient to. I don't want to see something and I'm seeing it. I don't want to listen to something and I am pulled to listen. I don't want to say something to someone and I'm saying it, and then creating a havoc. I don't want to do something and I'm doing it. So, what this means, that the soul has become subservient to everything that the soul has acquired. I have become a slave to my own subtle senses, that is mind, intellect, and sanskars, the impressions, and all these senses. But when I feed my soul consciousness again and again, go back to that invisible, powerful being that I am, the silent being that I am. the life force energy that I am, then I'm becoming the master. That is, I am experiencing this inner strength, inner power that's making me be that master. So it's called self sovereign. I'm becoming self sovereign. I'm becoming master. You must have heard this word self mastery many times. But what is self mastery? What is be attaining mastery? And on what do I attain mastery? Who is attaining the mastery? The soul is attaining. I, the soul. Even now, when I'm speaking to you all, who is speaking? The mouth. The soul is speaking through the mouth. If the soul isn't in this body, then can the mouth speak? I'm still speaking. The soul is out. No, I, the soul, I'm out, and the body just can't speak. And so understand this separation of soul and the body, how it works. And so the soul is attaining the mastery over all these senses. And this is what we need in the current times. Whatever we are talking right now, this is not theory. Every bit is practical, because I need to gain that self mastery again. Because, um, the soul becoming slave to all these senses and everything, the soul is experiencing pain. As a slave, when I'm subservient to something, I end up experiencing pain. When I'm mastery, I learn how to be detached and loving. Right? So as a soul, I'm using my senses in order. I know where to detach and where to be loving. And so that's called being a master, self mastery, which comes again and again, having this soul consciousness, right? And so this is about soul. And as I was mentioning, that there are some souls who have had this near death experiences. And what they have experienced is that the world that we are living in is just limited, and there is an unlimited space. There is another realm that actually belongs to us, but we haven't seen with this naked eye, and we don't much know about that world. When you're little, you must have experienced this, that, you look at the sky and your grandparents or your parents must be saying, that's the star, you become that star. Or, there is your grandmother or that star. We always, sometimes we say, when we leave the body, we become stars and we go into the sky, and, we hang in that sky. And then, of course, when you learn science, you understand that all those stars are big, giant, um, balls of matter, which, stand and which has that light, and they're self-luminous. And we learn this from the science. They're not souls sitting there, but they are planets, or they are stars, which are physical, which is material, which is matter. And so, but, you know, where is the soul? Where does the soul actually come from? Because this body is a body made up of 5 elements of matter, right? But we know that the soul is an energy, the soul is metaphysical. It's not physical. That's why you can't see the soul with these naked eyes. So then that means definitely the creation of the body is in one place, and definitely the soul belongs to another place. And so this is the world where we all live, of course, and the soul is in the body, and we all are actually interacting and living a life on this earth. And so this earth and this physical universe is called physical world or corporeal world, because here there is sound. It's all corporeal, because we souls live in corpse. Corpse is this body, right? And so the soul lives in this corpse, in this physical world, and we are all performing our part here. We are playing, we are acting here, right? And so if we see this physical world or the corporeal world is made up of 5 elements of matter. And what are the 5 elements? That is the the earth, the soil is one element, the earth, the water is another, then air, we have air, we breathe, the fire is another element, and then the ether, that is the space. So this physical world is made up of these 5 elements, that is the soil, the water, air, fire, and ether. All of these 5 elements are there. This is matter, right? Matter means that which perishes. But in this world of matter, the soul is in this body and playing the part. But the soul is lighter than all of these 5 physical elements. How? The body is made up of all the 5 physical elements. That is, the body is made up of soil. You see the flesh and bones, water. They say 70% of our body is filled with water. Air, we breathe. Fire, the chemical reactions or the way the system works. And ether, it's like the polar. Our body, if you see, it's just a space inside. And in this space, lighter than all of this, lighter than soil is that water, lighter than water is air, lighter than air is fire, lighter than fire is ether, space, and lighter than ether is energy beyond the space. That's why you see when you're going up into the sky, into the space, what's happening? The gravity, the pull of this, the gravity of this world is reducing, the pull of the matter is reducing. You're actually going into a space of energy. You're floating in that space. And beyond that is the element, the 6th element, which is called the element of energy or the element of light, or it's also called as in Eastern tradition as the element of nirvana. Nirvana meaning the land which is beyond sound. Even practically, if we see in this world, we're living in this world where there is sound. I'm talking, you're listening. There are all sounds here from morning till evening or night. There are always the sounds going on. There is noise, noise, noise. But as you go beyond these elements into the sky, into the space, you're actually going into a soundless space. There is no sound. You're going into silence. So beyond the ether, there is a space which is absolutely silent. There is a space of stillness. There is a space of light, which is called nirvana, where only the soul can travel. The soul can, because the soul is energy, metaphysical, it can go beyond this physical elements. The body is only limited to this physical elements. The body is created in this physical world and gets destroyed in this physical world. But the soul is eternal. I am an eternal, imperishable being, and I come from that space, that home. It's a beautiful word, home. That home of nirvana, that home of silence. And my home is filled with that silence where the soul used to dwell in the peace and silence. And that's why somewhere we all have the longing, you know, to experience that world, the longing towards peace. We all say, I want peace of mind, right? We all are attracted to peace. Even for few moments, if I have that silence and peace, it feels very rich. It feels not just relaxation, but as if the soul is feeling from inside. And so not just the soul, one is the soul, the nature of the soul is peace. The other is I come from a world that is beyond sound, which is called the land of peace, the world of silence, stillness. And so, being in this world through the process of meditation, through the method of meditation, I can travel through my consciousness, meaning being here, I can experience the world of silence, the world of stillness. Just feel you are in that world of light, and there is absolute silence all around you. And you're just still like a little star, you're sparkling in that world. And this experience is very profound because this experience also makes me feel that there is no boundary. The soul can travel anywhere. The soul can experience unlimited space. But it's not that in meditation the soul is leaving and going. No, it's the consciousness that I'm taking. I'm thinking about that home. It's about meditation is what? It's all about thinking. I'm not thinking about what is in this world or anything that is physical. Meditation is thinking about the invisible, which is very profound. Right? It's just thinking and experiencing that which is invisible. The soul is invisible, so I'm experiencing the soul in meditation. I'm thinking of that which I've forgotten. I'm experiencing that which I have forgotten. I've forgotten myself, my real self, that I am this wonderful being inside this body. I've also forgotten my home. That's why we don't know where we have come from. And so we as souls used to dwell, even now, it doesn't take much time. If you become quiet, you can experience that world of silence, even right now as you're listening to me. It doesn't take much effort. And when when I take my consciousness just beyond all these elements into that element of stillness, you experience profound peace, the real peace, profound peace. And your intellect and mind is not jumping like a monkey. You experience that profound peace in that world and absolute unlimited feeling. Again, these are the stories of people who experience near death, that they did experience, that the soul is like traveling, because one moment they're in the body, and this experience of just quickly the soul leaving the body, and then in few seconds again coming back. But in that few seconds, what did they experience? And so some of the stories that they felt like as if they're pulled into a region where the soul felt this space of light. The soul felt comfort, as if the soul is in the home. And all of them who had this near death experience didn't want to come back into the body, because they enjoyed being in that space of light. They enjoyed that freedom, that unlimited. And I think Anita Murjani's experience was also profound, and she shares how she felt. She described that death is, you don't have to fear death. And she said that there is this beautiful space and it's unlimited. and you are, beyond this body. And she also said that, she experienced being in an unlimited space, which is beyond even time. There is no time. Just think, where do we have time existing? Only in this physical world. Even when you're flying in the sky, you're actually, crossing times. Mm. But just going to the space, is there time? No, there is no time in the space. And just think beyond space, where there is, you're in a timeless space. You're in an unlimited realm of light and silence. And so, being here, you can have this mental journey, spiritual journey to that home of light and silence, which is absolutely powerful. And so, from there, we souls come down into this world, into this realm here, the physical world. We take our bodies here, and we begin to play our part, right? And that's why the soul is called an actor. When we are on this, in this physical world, in this physical realm, we are, actors. The moment the soul is in the body, we are acting, right? We are into our stories, we are playing our roles. And so when we came down, we definitely forgot that our home. And the second thing is, we got completely caught up in our roles. That's the mistake that has happened. Hmm? We have come here to play our dramas, but as we are playing our dramas, we completely got caught up in our role. Instead of being soul conscious, we have become role conscious. So we got caught in the role that I'm playing. I am a husband. I am a wife. I am a child. I am so and so. And then, based on that role, we are actually acting. And also, that's the problem today. So, I am a husband and I have to behave like this with you. I am a wife and I have to do this. I have to be like this. Uh, I am a child, I am a sister or brother, whatever it is. We got caught up in these relationships, and we behave in a certain way. I'm a father and I have to tell my children this. I am a mother and I have to do. So all of this, so rather than being soul, I am a soul and I'm playing this part of a husband or a wife or a child or a father or a mother, it went the other way around. That is, we think that I am so and so, all these labels of relationship. And according to that role, according to that label, we are playing our roles. And so we got caught up. Our act has become limited. Just say, for example, um, you got a role to play. You're in a drama. You play a role of a princess or a prince, and then say you get so caught up in that role that you go home with the same dress. And you're saying, you're talking like that at home, like a king or a queen. And if you start thinking that you are that role, what happens? Everyone will say, are you okay, right? So, in the same way, in this world, as we are playing our role, we just completely got caught up in our roles. And that's why when we are caught up in our roles, we got attached to our roles. And because we got attached to our roles, we have expectations playing in that, those roles. We expect, a husband expect from his children or wife or whatever to be. A father expects, and control aspect has come. I will control this way. I'll play my part this way. I'm a mother-in-law, and so I will treat this one like this, daughter-in-law. Or I'm a daughter-in-law, and then treating someone like this. So all of this, we get trapped. We got trapped in our role. So now spirituality says, Come out of this role consciousness and be soul consciousness. Play your role considering yourself as a soul. And so, how do I do that? Again, this separation of I and mind. I am a soul, and this is my role. Having this awareness, everything begins from awareness. Everything begins from awareness. This awareness is profound. Whatever you're thinking, whatever is in your awareness, that's how you start to speak. That's how your gestures are. That's what your behavior is. And that's the personality you become. So, awareness is very important. What are you aware of? So, when you're aware that I am a soul, then I separate myself from the role. So stop seeing others in the form of their role and start seeing others as a soul first. And then comes the role. Even for myself, too. I have to begin seeing myself as a soul, practice the soul consciousness. And how do I practice the soul consciousness? Again and again, during the day, a few times, go inwards and just drop this consciousness, this physical consciousness of what you have, and just stabilize in the consciousness of what you are. And when you start to practice this again and again, keep going back to the thinking of this is what I have, this is what I am. And so this awareness will make you play your role in a better way. Rather than boxing ourselves in this role, then we have expectations, control, and then becoming upset someone didn't listen to me, or then you know getting really angry in my relationship. All of these things happen in role consciousness, but I keep switching. Let me see myself as a soul, and let me see others as a soul, and then let me play the role. Then it's beautiful. Once, a mother-in-law, she a lady, she came and she was talking about her daughter-in-law, and she said that I get really upset with her, and when we are sitting on the dining table and we are eating, she never asks, do you want anything? She does this. And then I asked her, okay, think that your daughter-in-law is not sitting there, but your daughter is sitting, and you all are sitting together and eating the food. Do you have the same reactions, and do you get the same way upset with your daughter that she didn't ask you whether you want to eat, whether you want to be served more? And she became quiet. So this is what it is. Because we box someone in a label of being a daughter-in-law or a mother-in-law or a wife or a husband or a parent, we start to act with them in certain way. Because you are this, and I demand this and this and this from you. And so we torture each other in relationships this way, being in role consciousness. But the moment I asked that question, if it's your daughter, would you do the same? And she was quiet and she smiled. This is what it is. So now I have to go back to that soul consciousness and again remember where I have come from, my home of silence. When I go within and connect to myself as a soul, I experience my inner peace. And when I take my consciousness up there to my home of silence and peace, there is more power, more silence, more stillness. And this is the first part of Raja Yoga, that we learn and practice. One last thing I wanted to say is that, yes, while we are playing our dramas here, you know, um, we start to fix other actors. Remember, everyone is an actor, everyone has their own journey, own story. If I'm thinking and beating my head, why this person is like this person has to change, why this person doesn't know how to talk, why this person is acting. But I don't know. I'm just seeing a little speck of their behavior right now in this birth. But we don't know what the story of that soul has been, and their journey has been, and their sanskars or their impressions have been in the soul. So, um, when I understand I'm an actor in this drama, I also learn to be a detached observer. When I have the awareness, I'm a soul, I'm an actor, I learn how to be a detached observer. I know to observe rather than react. So now some ask, oh, is that we should be just an observer towards our children if they're doing something wrong or somebody's doing something wrong? Now, this is something to be understood from sense, right? Be sensible about this. So, when it is said detached observer, I'm not saying that your child is doing something wrong and you're not actually helping that child to think better or to do better. That's not detached observer mean. Detached observer mean, like many times in our life, for little things we react, little things we try to control, and we think we have a right on something to control and expect, and that's where my part goes wrong. But when I am a detached observer, when I observe, I know how to actually help. I know how to actually guide or advise or suggest. But when I'm not a detached observer, then I get caught up and try to control the situation rather than finding a solution. So being a detached observer means finding a solution and playing my part in a right way. Yes, I did say one last thing, but one last thing is that some think that there is eternal liberation, meaning that the soul goes back home and we sit there. But yes, we go to our home, we experience that stillness and that silence and that beautiful comfort of that home. But every soul, we come down again to play our part. So there is a word in Eastern tradition which is called moksha, which means just going to that abode of peace and silence and not coming back here. No, each one of us will come back to play our part. So one thing I have to understand is that what do I want liberation from? Do I want liberation? Do I want to be free from sorrow or free from body? When I'm in happiness, do I think I want to be free from body? No. When I'm in sorrow, that's when I think, I don't want to play this part. I'm fed up, right? But so it's not about leaving the body. It's not about freeing myself from the body. It's about freeing myself from the incorrect actions that I'm performing that is causing me sorrow. So I need to fix my those actions which are causing me sorrow so that I can play a beautiful, wonderful, happy part. Om Shanti.